Security Chief Xyran watched through the reinforced viewport as the human prisoner was escorted into Interrogation Chamber 7. Dr. Marcus Webb, according to his identification records, was a xenobiologist who had been captured during a routine diplomatic mission gone wrong. Standard protocol called for chemical interrogation using their most effective fear-inducing compounds, a process that typically broke even the most hardened criminals within minutes. The human appeared unremarkable by galactic standards: average height, no natural weapons, no apparent defensive adaptations. His biometric readings showed elevated stress levels consistent with capture and confinement, but nothing outside normal parameters for a frightened prisoner. Everything suggested this would be a routine interrogation. "Deploy the Vorthok fear synthesis," Xyran commanded her technician. "Standard concentration." The chamber filled with a pale green mist that would send most species into immediate psychological collapse. Vorthok fear synthesis was a precisely engineered compound that triggered the deepest terror responses in 97% of known sentient life. The remaining 3% typically experienced severe anxiety attacks that made them equally compliant. Dr. Webb took a deep breath of the gas and tilted his head thoughtfully. "Interesting," he said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's audio system. "Definitely some kind of neurochemical agent I'm detecting. Complex aromatic compounds, probably designed to trigger amygdala response. But there's something else." He inhaled again, more deliberately this time. "Oh, that's clever. You're targeting serotonin reuptake while simultaneously flooding the olfactory system with synthetic alarm pheromones. Very sophisticated. Did you design this yourselves or adapt it from another species' biology?" Xyran stared at the monitor in disbelief. The human was analyzing their most potent psychological weapon like a researcher studying an interesting chemical sample. "Increase concentration to maximum," she ordered. The mist thickened, reaching levels that should have reduced the human to a gibbering wreck within seconds. Species-specific fear compounds flooded the chamber. Evolutionary terrors extracted from dozens of different worlds, refined and concentrated into a cocktail of pure psychological trauma. Dr. Webb sniffed the air appreciatively. "Now that's much more complex. I'm detecting traces of... Wait, is that decomposition alkaloids? And something that smells like..." He paused, a look of genuine curiosity crossing his face. "This is going to sound strange, but are you trying to simulate the smell of death? How is he still coherent?" Xyran's technician whispered, his 4 hands trembling as he monitored the gas mixture controls. "Deploy the emergency protocol," Xyran commanded. "All compounds, maximum concentration." The chamber filled with a cocktail of chemical terror so potent that even the sealed observation room's occupants felt their anxiety levels spike from trace amounts leaking through the air filtration system. The mixture contained fear stimulants from 47 different worlds, including compounds that could drive a Zentorian into catatonic terror and alkaloids that would send a Vorthok warrior fleeing in mindless panic. Dr. Webb took another deep breath and actually smiled. "Okay, now we're getting somewhere. This is fascinating. You've managed to combine terror responses from multiple evolutionary paths. I'm definitely detecting predator markers from at least a dozen different ecosystems. There's something that triggers claustrophobia, something else that simulates pack rejection, and..." He paused, his expression growing more interested. "Wait, are you using synthetic necromones? The chemical signature of decay and death?" He looked directly at the observation window, somehow managing to make eye contact with Xyran despite the one-way glass. "You know, on Earth we have something similar. We call it Halloween. Kids deliberately expose themselves to artificial fear stimuli for entertainment. Though I have to say, your mixture is much more sophisticated than anything we use for haunted houses." The interrogation chamber fell silent, except for the hum of ventilation systems working desperately to cycle the massive concentration of fear compounds. In the observation room, 3 different species of security personnel were showing signs of severe stress just from proximity to the chemical cocktail. The human, meanwhile, had begun pacing around the chamber, apparently using the movement to better analyze the different scent layers.
The interesting thing about human fear response, Dr. Webb continued conversationally, is that we've evolved to find certain types of fear stimulating. Our ancestors survived by being curious about dangerous things instead of just running away from them. Cave-dwelling predators, toxic plants, unstable weather patterns, we learned to investigate threats instead of simply avoiding them. He stopped pacing and faced the observation window again. So when you flood our system with artificial fear compounds, our brains don't shut down in terror, they get excited. It's like you've just presented us with the galaxy's most interesting puzzle, he grinned. And I have to say, this is a really good puzzle. Vexthara looked at her readouts in growing alarm. The human stress indicators had actually decreased since the gas deployment began. His heart rate was steady, his breathing was controlled, and his brainwave patterns showed the focused concentration typical of someone engaged in complex problem-solving. "Chief," her technician reported, voice shaking, "we're approaching toxic levels. Any higher concentration will start causing permanent neurological damage." "Do it," Vexthara ordered. The chamber filled with a concentration of fear compounds that should have been immediately lethal to most sentient beings. Emergency protocols activated as the interrogation room's atmosphere became more chemical weapon than breathable air. Dr. Webb took a deep breath of the lethal cocktail and laughed, actually laughed, with what sounded like genuine delight. "Oh, that's brilliant! You've just created a completely artificial ecosystem of terror. This isn't just designed to trigger fear, it's designed to trigger every possible fear response simultaneously. The chemical complexity must be incredible." He spun around, arms spread wide, breathing deeply. "It's like being inside a living nightmare, except," he paused, his expression becoming thoughtful, "except humans don't really do nightmares the way you're expecting. See, we're the species that evolved to hunt creatures bigger and stronger than ourselves. We're the ones who looked at cave bears and saber-toothed cats and thought, I bet we could take them if we were clever about it. Fear, for us, isn't a stop signal, it's a start signal." He looked directly at the observation window again, his smile widening. "So thank you for the most interesting chemical analysis I've ever had the opportunity to conduct. Now, shall we discuss whatever it is you actually wanted to know? Because I'm much more cooperative when I'm not bored, and you've just provided me with the most entertainment I've had since arriving on your station." In the observation room, Vexthara slowly reached for the emergency ventilation controls. As the fear gas began to clear from the chamber, she made a mental note to update her species' intelligence files on humanity. Next to their entry on human psychology, she would add a single, crucial warning. Do not attempt to frighten. They find it recreational. After all, any species that treated concentrated terror as intellectual stimulation was clearly operating on principles that made conventional interrogation not just ineffective, but counterproductive. The universe, she realized, contained far more dangerous things than she had ever imagined. And apparently, most of them lived on a small blue planet in the Sol system.